Do people in Fort Wayne pay too high a tax rate now?
I don't think so. I mean, we're talking about property taxes, which, with the advent of the circuit breaker, that there are not going to be any changes in that. I've signed, part of my campaign is signing a no new taxes pledge. I'm not going to increase taxes. That's not at all my
Tim
intent.
Pate says that that's good for Sycamore Hills and bad for DeWalt Street, because it raises it in the center of town, but it caps it in the suburban neighborhoods.
It does.
And many of those people were already beyond the circuit breaker,
right.
so now it pushes down the amount that they pay, which, given that there's, you've got to raise this much, well, it pushes it out of Sycamore Hills, sorry to all my friends out there, but it pushes it into the poorer neighborhoods to pick up the price.
No, because I disagree with that, because everybody is capped at 1% of assessed value. And I actually think it levels it. And what you've got, actually, this is a Roy Buskirk comment, one of the things the circuit breaker has done is created a situation where there are residents in the county who are not in an incorporated part of the county, so they don't have city taxes. They are paying, percentage-wise, a higher level of for the airport and the library and their county taxes, because there is not that pressure of a city's budget maxing out. So there are some inequities. I don't know that we'll ever get to a point where there is a perfectly equitable tax system, but I think circuit breaker comes pretty close.
Do you spend much time in the center of town?
I do.
I mean, let me carry you 4 blocks to the southeast. Buchanan Street, one of the poorest census tracts in the state of Indiana, to DeWalt. I can see the streets. I can't think of all of their names. Fox.
Yeah, the Hannah Creighton neighborhood.
Yeah, Hannah Creighton neighborhood is going through some rough times.
Yes. And
how do we bring them back?
Well, part of it is, I had a conversation actually with a Fort Wayne police officer who works C shift, which is the night shift in the southeast quadrant. And his take on it was every community is going to have their 10% that are causing trouble. Part of the problem is that in southeast Fort Wayne, that 10% is a little more vicious than it is in the other quadrants.
It's concentrated too.
Yes, it's concentrated, and they are they have a lower standard of living. And so but the converse of that is that I go to all 4 neighborhood quadrant meetings, and what I've seen in the neighborhood presidents and the people, we have as a community, neighborhoods and pockets southeast. The presence of those neighborhood associations, the people that are engaged in the neighborhoods, are passionate about their community and engaged in their community in a way that I don't see in the other quadrants. And I think that is how you bring it back, through that community spirit. And there is a sense of neighborhood in many ways that you'll never get in Sycamore Hills.
True.
And that's
they're
a
much
benefit.
Closer and more dependent upon one another.
And I think that community spirit has a value in and of itself.
My experience on Rudisill, where I live, is that I couldn't find neighborhood associations to the east of me to work with hand in glove. I just couldn't find them, as if there was a paucity in the southeast quadrant.
I wonder if going through, there's a very commercial segment. I mean, you've got... is it Spy Run and Clinton there? Is that
Clinton and Lafayette?
Clinton Lafayette, thank you. That when you get past that to the neighborhoods, I think when you get past, I know where you are in Rudisill, you would have to go quite a ways past Lafayette to get to where neighborhoods started to be engaged again.
Fire station number 10, I think it is, over there someplace. Would you privatize any offices of government, any departments of government?
It's not my intent to do any privatization.
Is there cost savings to be?
I think there are some cost savings and efficiencies to be had, and certainly some effectiveness by combining some departments, city and county departments. Purchasing, human resources. I've asked about city streets and county highway. Certainly there should be a more formal level of cooperation and collaboration among those two.
You remember the fight over Unigov?
Yes, indeed.
And isn't the goal to create efficiencies, not necessarily to put the county under Democratic leadership or
Right.
the city under
Well,
Republican
I think
leadership.
different people have different motivations for talking about a consolidation of local government. From my perspective, I mean, there's unification, and from unification, you could have efficiencies and effectiveness in a financial perspective. I actually think that's a pretty weak standing. That I rank that lowest. I think of far more value is a unification of leadership. I think one of the problems ongoing we've had in this community is that we have not had top elected officials actively working together. When I was president of county council, we held joint meetings of the city and county council. As mayor, one of the things I intend to do is reach out and meet on a regular basis with the county commissioners. I think there's not enough effort put into maintaining those developing and maintaining relationships. I'm lucky right now because walking in, I have personal relationships with the county commissioners, all three of them, as well as all the members of county council. I will, city council is going to turn over a little bit, but some of the long-standing members.
You were hoping it turns over a little
well,
bit.
we know there's going to be at least one replacement. So I think relationships is my bag. And I think that there would be great benefit to this community if we have a mayor in place like me who values those relationships. If we take the time to form the relationships and figure out what it is we have in common and start working together on those things that we have in common, then we will find that we have more and more in common and that we can strive together for. I think too, and that goes, for city and county, but also in the region. The mayor of Fort Wayne has a role to play as a leader in facilitating relationships amongst all the mayors in our region. And the areas where it can be the most productive is in how we approach the state legislature. We for years had the most powerful legislative delegation in the state. Northeast Indiana did. We didn't leverage that because we couldn't come to terms about we couldn't agree on what we wanted locally. We couldn't. We just didn't find that common ground and strive towards it. We spent too much time focusing on what we had different.
It's sort of a function, though, of having the Chamber of Commerce going in one direction and the mayor going in another direction and county council going in another direction. So that's essentially what you're saying as mayor you would lead.
Well, yes, I would. And you will still have areas where the chamber is focused one way and maybe the council and commissioners are focused in another, and the mayor another. But if you have those core things that you agree on, you can work on those. And then you have a ground for conversation when you come to something where you don't agree.
In your background, and we're closing in on about an hour here, so probably a good idea to, a couple more questions. One, what does the word sprawl mean to you?
Well, if you think of urban sprawl, then it's when a community keeps expanding into the green space, undeveloped property, and starts building new subdivisions and going further and further out, and you're creating the donut effect, and not maintaining the value of the neighborhoods and the commercial sector in the center of the community.
And that would be the downtown. So is downtown, having been the president of the DID, Downtown Improvement District, is downtown supremely important to you, supremely important to you, very important to you, somewhat important to you, or not important to you at all?
I would put it at very important to me. There is a role, again, that match of public and private sector investment in downtown, but one of my favorite quotes is from Mayor Hudnut when he was mayor of Indianapolis, and what he said was, you can't be a suburb of nowhere. And downtown is that core of our community. I've had the argument with a contractor who wanted to tell me that I-69 is the new downtown, and I told him that he had a soulless definition of character of a community if that's what he considered downtown, because every town that has a highway going through it has got the chain restaurants and the whatever's happening on that, the people whizzing through. That is not downtown. Downtown is again, that soul or the heart of a community, and the character things that you'll find that make us different from any other community. And beyond the fabulous, the architecture we have in downtown, the history, the tradition, it's a place where people come together and experience life as one, as community. And you can't replace that with a highway. or it's something that is a spirit almost, but is also in a physical place. That's what downtown is, and that's crucial to our future. We absolutely need to invest in that, but invest in terms of making it a focus and attracting private sector actual resources to it.
Thank you very much.
Well,
It's
thank
been a
you.
great conversation. I appreciate
agree.
it, and I think everybody who watches this will learn a great deal from you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed the conversation.